Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Okay. This is going to be one of those rare readings that combines news and gossip. Love you, Dr. Lena. Too much news, not enough gossip. All right. This is going to be a reading on Tina Peters. You will remember her as a Colorado County Clerk who basically stole the badge of a coworker to allow some guy into the building so he could have access to voting machines and download voting machine records, all in an effort to support Mike Lindell's election fraud ideas project, whatever. If you've been following the news, you found that she was convicted on 4, I believe it was felonies in August, and she just got sentenced to a total of 9 years in prison. I think the way I saw the article, Elle just walked in if you see me looking over there, the lover's card pops up. Oh, Elle, I love you. Mwah. The judge said it was 8.5 years plus 6 months, so 9 years. I don't know if the 6 months is credit for 6 months served, or maybe there must have been 2 charges, but total of 9 years. The court has since received compliments and threats against them to cause them to increase security. But I was just kind of looking at the Tina Peters case is sort of the, not the bellwether, but kind of like the bellwether of this whole election fraud denial stuff, because she was like the poster child. She was out there, and she was living large. When I saw a clip where a reporter interviewed her, and the clip was, well, if I was lying, I should be out there lying on a beach enjoying my freedom while I still have it. And she kind of laughed it off, like, I'm not guilty. I'm a patriot. No, the judge thought differently. Quotes from the judge about her actions. It's just more lines. The judge said when he critiqued Peters this week. No objective person believes them. No, at the end of the day, you cared more about the jets, the podcasts, and the people flying with you. That's pretty damning. Yeah, he talked about her white privilege, and she had lived a privileged life, and just basically, threw it all away on this. And so he had no problem holding her accountable. So this woman who's in her late 60s, and I'm sure she has lived a privileged life. I think she is wealthy. These cats. She's going to spend pretty much the remainder of her life in prison. Now, it's 9 years. She'll be in her late 70s when she gets out. But she's going to be in her late 70s when she gets out, assuming she serves the full time. It's going to be a federal case. So, at least I think it's a federal case. I didn't see what the court it was. She'll be spending a lot of time in prison. Let's put it that way. And, underneath it all. Enjoy your time there. So I want to just look at the energy around her court case. And then at how it impacts the energy at large. Is this a microcosm of a bigger problem? Okay, so come on down. Entertainment purposes only and all that. Let us see what's going on with the Tina Peters case. Why you shouldn't F around with election security. Foundation of the reading is the 4 of Cups. Crossed with the Chariot and the 10 of Swords. Well, there's an interesting combination. It's sort of like, and I was asking about if this is a microcosm of a bigger problem. MAGA Republicans have been dealt blow after blow after blow after blow of giving information that they don't want to hear, they don't want to consume, they don't want to accept that somehow Donald Trump lost. And they will, and they do stuff to try and not have to accept a potion of truth. I am objectively denying reality in front of me, and I'm going to continue to deny it to the point that they do crimes. And this is going to continue to happen. I guess in some ways this is the de-gaslighting. This is the deprogramming of the cult. They could do it the easy way, or they could do it the hard way. But in the end of the day, this cult will be dismantled. Will there be some cult members who remain cult members their whole life? Absolutely, there will be. There's no hope for some of these folks. They drank too deep from the Kool-Aid, 3 empty cups, and they're ready for the 4th. But some are ignoring the 4th. So I do believe that this is also progress of the deprogramming and the death of that cult, the cult of Trump. In the past, the 7 of Wands. All right, so we were talking about Tina Peters, but it's going to go back even bigger than that. Their defining moment was January 6th, 2021, with the failed coup attempt. That was their high watermark. That's when the cult was at its strongest. And it's been downhill ever since. The cats are now fighting. As Elle tries to play. Current situation is the High Priestess. This is the F around, and this is the finding out. They've been messing around with these court cases and election denial and doing things for Donald Trump, and more the consequences of their actions are finally catching up. They've gotten away with it for so long to the point that they didn't think there was going to be any accountability. And to me, this is the accountability card. They're all going to go down because these are all crimes. And you're going to learn your lesson. You will be forced to wake up. And sometimes the only thing that requires them to wake up is to get out of that echo chamber, that news echo chamber that they're in. And when she's in prison, guess what? She's going to be out of that news echo chamber. She's going to be in a different kind of chamber. Overarching energy is the 5 of Cups. For Tina Peters, huge disappointment that she's going to prison. Benefits? She might not spend the whole time there. But this will deprogram her from that cult, or at least it should. I'd hate to think she gets out even more rabid than when she went in. But I think she also can't believe that she's being sent to prison. But she holds out some hope. Maybe Donald Trump will get elected. And if he's elected, he can pardon her. Or if Colorado gets a MAGA governor, that governor can pardon her. But right now, she can't believe that she, of all people, is being treated like a common criminal. There's got to be some people who will stay up for her. Maybe she even holds out hope that she'll win an appeal. Because I'm sure she'll appeal. The lesson to be learned is the magician. You manifested this. You chose to do this. Nobody forced you to do it. You went out on your own on it. You're in a fight. You had access, betrayed the trust of the people. You brought this all on yourself. And now you live with the consequences. You live with the consequences. Your career is over as you know it. Your reputation is over as you know it. Your life effectively is over as you know it. And it's all self-inflicted. All self-inflicted. And that's going to be a theme that you're going to see. And let me just go ahead and give you some cat action here. This is going to be a theme that you see time and time again with the cult members. Is that they are going to more and more be exposed to information that they don't want to hear, be held legally accountable for things that they did, for things that they did during the election and after the election. They have now both sprinted down the hallway. You may hear them crashing back later. Nico fled, Elle in pursuit. This is all stuff that they did. It's all going to catch up to them. Justice moves slow, but it does move. And I think that's been the frustrating part. Because here we are 4 years later, and really the only people who've been imprisoned are the worst of the worst for attacking police officers. But none of the leaders. And, all the stuff that we saw happening post-election and all the craziness. Again, the Tina Peters of the world who basically, denied the election results, said I don't remember if she said she was going to certify, but there were places that didn't want to certify him. Now she's letting people into the secure areas, getting access to voter rolls and voting equipment machines that she knows she shouldn't be doing. But she drank so deep from the Kool-Aid that she believed she was being a patriot as opposed to a traitor. And just think about how intoxicating that Kool-Aid must be, that you cannot differentiate patriotism with treason. All right, let's look at MAGA as a whole here. We've looked at the Tina Peters case. Let's get MAGA as a whole. I suspect we're going to get something similar here. Knight of Wands. It's a progression. Slow, steady progression. And a decline. You're going to see a progression in the decline of MAGA, because more and more they're going to lose their leaders and their ideals, and they don't know what to believe because they can't think for themselves. They've been trained not to think for themselves. Do what we tell you to. And in some ways, they're waiting for the new leader to come out. They're waiting for the new leader, because I don't think this is them taking action themselves. The vibe I get is they want somebody new to come along. As Trump declines, MAGA declines. And they're waiting for that next big thing to come in. In the past, you got the Empress, dear leader. This is Trump telling them everything they wanted to hear. Whether it's, taking away pregnant women's rights or women's rights for their health care in general, saying how he's going to protect them from illegal immigrants coming in from the southern border, or a Muslim ban, or China with tariffs. Trump had all the answers that they wanted to hear. And that's the clue right there. They wanted to hear that. Why? Because they're miserable. Did Trump ever do anything to make their lives better? No. What did he do instead? He took their anger and aggression and he pummeled it on other people. That's what brings them joy, is watching other people suffer more than they feel like they're suffering. That's the twistedness of MAGA. Current situation is the Seven of Wands, fighting. This is, in some ways, this is MAGA's last gasp. Trump has been trying to, and they're fighting. They're tired. They're exhausted. They've been on this pedestal fighting. When you're fighting 6 other opponents, even though you've got the high ground, it is wearing over time. And MAGA is wearing out. MAGA requires passion and anger. And it's really hard to sustain passion and anger. They've been passionate and angry since 2016. And we're now in 2024. So that's 8 years of rage. And the thing about rage is it's like a wildfire. It burns bright. It builds momentum. It consumes everything around it. But eventually, it runs out of fuel. And it runs out of steam. And it smolders out. And I think we're entering the smoldering stages. We're not at the smoldering stages yet, but we're definitely on the decline of MAGA. When Trump is irrelevant, MAGA pretty much stuffs out, except for spot fires here and there. Overarching energy is the King of Cups. Now, normally I would have this as a Joe Biden card, and Biden has done his part as president to tamp things down because he's not a drama queen. It's just back to a normal presidency. Trump tries to get his folks to hate Joe Biden. They really can't hate him. They more pity him. Oh, he's old. He's tired. He's addled. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's not hatred. That's maybe scorn. Or, with a mild bit of pity dusted on the top of it. They just think he's incompetent and shouldn't be in there. They're wrong. The other thing is that Trump, as a passionate leader, he himself, his health has declined, that he cannot fire up the crowds like he used to. He doesn't have the energy either. He is exhausted. In a reading I did with Gary and Marina, I was getting that if anybody needs a vacation, and this sounds absolutely ridiculous, if anybody needs a vacation right now, it's Donald Trump. That dude is exhausted, but he can't rest because being the president is the only thing that's going to keep him out of prison for the rest of his life. It's the only thing protecting him in all his court cases. So he's got 2 choices: be the president, or if you're not, you risk going to prison. So which the other choice is fleeing, right? Lesson to be learned. You reap what you sow. MAGA, what's happening with MAGA and the decline of MAGA, it's inevitable. When everything you run on is objectively false, it's propaganda and gaslighting. It requires a cult leader. As the cult leader declines, so will the movement. Just like that Two of Wands, they're waiting for the next person. And in some ways they are. They still feel righteous, but that righteousness without a leader is not going to be the fine, pointed sword that drives them to the next level. Where Trump would be, there's some biblical quote about arms and swords and stuff like that. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find the exact quote. It might be just because it's a dumb movie quote. Two that sort of go with it. If I whet my glittering sword and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies and will reward them that hate me. The hate part reminds me of MAGA. This one's probably the better one here. At the last day, God's sword shall be drawn out against offenders. Then his justice shall be revealed before all the world. And I don't get the rest of the quote here. But regardless, they're looking to take up arms. In some ways, the crusade that they've taken for Trump has wilted and died. And honestly, they're kind of a lost people without Donald Trump, and they'll be looking for that next leader. And let's maybe throw a little for Carter to see if they'll find that new leader, or will this just fizzle out? Now, mind you, there will be people that try and step into that role. J.D. Vance could possibly do it, but he doesn't have the charisma that he needs. He's too polished, too smooth talking that they're not going to like him. Somebody like Ron DeSantis, who just comes across as an awful mean-spirited person, is much more likely to gain some followers on that. Steve Bannon, again, but in some ways he's too smart. Bannon's not really a leader per se. He likes to be. He's one of those guys. He's Jafar in the Aladdin cartoon on Disney. He wants to be behind the scenes, being a puppet master, controlling a figurehead like Trump. That's where he finds himself. There isn't that charismatic leader right now that I see on MAGA side of things. You would need somebody awful like Stephen Miller or something like that to really get them united, and he doesn't have the charisma to pull people together. Okay, but let's take a look. What was the question? The question was going to be, do they find that new leader? What happens? Temperance, detoxification. I don't think they do. It's just basically, what I think happens? They just go back to their normal lives. At least most of them. As the toxicity of MAGA goes away, they'll go back to grumbling about how things aren't good enough. But I don't see uniting. I see detoxification, actually. For most of them, they have to start over. There's a new life coming up here. Maybe part of the problem or part of the problem. It's such a problem here. Yeah, there's the death of MAGA. MAGA goes dormant. It's detoxified. Why? Because new opportunities come in for youthful people to make money, so there's no replacement for the MAGA that die. So for the grumpy old men that are in MAGA, as they pass on, they're not replaced by younger people. There's it's almost like with Harris and subsequent administrations, there's a rebirth. New business opportunities come in. It's like by bringing the manufacturing jobs back, you give people hope in a new path forward that detoxifies the situation and puts an end to the MAGA movement. it goes dormant. Yeah, without Trump, it's definitely going to go dormant. Yeah, again, that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be spot issues coming up, because some people have drank so deep from the Kool-Aid that they're just purely crazy at this point. Radicalized cult members. And if without dear leader, they might feel like they need to take matters into their own hands. Not to disparage Mr. Routh there, but the same guy that tried to pew Trump that second time, he kind of would fall into that category. When I threw on him, I remember the Ace of Swords coming out, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but looking at, kind of remembering back in retrospect, he's a crusader of sorts. He gets a cause in his head, and then he's both feet in. He's in for a penny, in for a pound. And he was not wildly successful, I don't think, in anything that he felt passionate about. And it makes him feel emasculated. And so, try and go out with a big bang, do something right for a change. And that's a terrible way to look at it. But in some ways with MAGA, they feel like the job's undone. And for some of those people, they made it their whole life. Their self-identity was with MAGA. And if it dies, who are they then? They may not have the strength to reinvent themselves. For a lot of the other people, they're just going to put it all in a box in their garage somewhere and forget about it. And a few years down the line, it's just going to get donated or burned or thrown in the trash. And they'll distance themselves from it and try to forget that they ever were part of this movement in the first place. Well, you do you. Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. I hope you found this reading insightful. It is for entertainment purposes only, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.